What's happening, everyone? Chris Beans here with Bowler's Rant, bringing you an exclusive update about Brunswick and Classic. Don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons and turn on those notifications. I do appreciate your support of the channel. Okay, so there's some breaking news that's coming out, and it's probably because a bunch of people from Brunswick are now leaking this to the press. But if this is to be believed, Brunswick Bowling is buying Classic products, okay? I say again, Brunswick Bowling is buying Classic products. The initial first presence of this being reported on the web is at 11thframe.com by Jeff Rigel. So, Jeff, thank you for posting that and confirming what I've been hearing coming through the wire, that basically, if anybody knows anything about bowling, Classic Products is one of the biggest distributors, if not the biggest distributor for bowling products. So, this article says 3 sources with no direct connections to each other separately confirmed the deal to 11thframe.com, but none would be quoted by name. I can definitely explain why that is, because there might be some big trouble for people involved if people were to actually put their name behind that before an actual press release gets released, which I'm expecting to come from Brunswick at some point, either later today or tomorrow. So this is interesting because now you're talking about, as you know, and this is the last point on this page, Brunswick setting up an interesting dynamic where they're in the business of distributing. So you got to think about, well, what does this really mean? Okay, so this means basically, you know, Classic Products, they sell Storm, they sell Brunswick, they sell KR Strike Force, they sell all the things in bowling. If Brunswick is now buying Classic Products, and Classic has a whole bunch of people using them. As a matter of fact, they even have an API integration where you can, instead of just having to call people manually, you can just set up your systems to talk to their API directly, and you can, you know, transact through them directly. What this means is that potentially a couple things. Number one, is Brunswick only going to sell their products exclusively through Classic Products, right? Is Brunswick B7 family products only going to sell through Classic Products? That's issue number one. And if that's true, that's going to put a direct conflict with a lot of pro shops out there who have a relationship, say, with Hudson or with Ace Mitchell or whoever, right? If you have a agreement with someone other than Classic, and now Brunswick only sells Hammer, you know, Deviate, Radical, Brunswick only through Classic Products, well, you have to have a Classic relationship to now be able to sell Classic products. That's issue number one for me, right? This is going to possibly put people in some crosshairs, some very interesting crossroads. Is really what I meant to say, not crosshairs, crossroads, to make a decision on what their future looks like from a sales perspective, right? Are they going to have to say, hey, I'm a pro shop and I've been with Hudson for X amount of years, but now if I can't sell Brunswick products because I have to have Classic, are they going to have to choose between Classic and Hudson? Or are they going to have multiple relationships? It is not uncommon for some pro shops to have multiple relationships, but, you know, most distributors would prefer you to just deal with them and not have, you know, 2 or 3 or 4 relationships out there in the marketplace. The other thing that this is interesting is that if Classic is also going to continue to sell products that are not Storm, right? I'm sorry, that are not Brunswick, that, you know, Storm and, you know, Motive, is Brunswick going to have access to all the sales data related to products that are not of their own, right? So if Classic, are they going to be in the business essentially of selling their competitor's product? This is a huge red flag in my opinion on so many levels, right? And that could just go so many different ways. I just don't know how comfortable the industry is going to be with that kind of situation. I don't know if we've ever seen anything like this before. Of course, anybody has an opinion, drop a comment. Of course, let's continue the discussion. I think in the end, this is a really big move. It's a disrupting move. It's definitely disrupting the status quo. This has to be, you know, the brainchild of Core Dykstra, the CEO of Brunswick. You know, is he taking over? Is he going to be is he going to be the next Jeff Bezos, right, of bowling, right? I don't know. There's a lot of unanswered questions here, and I'm quite sure that there'll be a lot of people who are not happy about this deal going down. Another question in my mind is, are there any legal challenges to which companies could sue for this acquisition, right? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I'm not suggesting anybody's done anything illegal. I am asking questions from a different perspective, though, of, hey, could somebody consider this to be kind of like a monopolizing type of position, being that Brunswick is a very big company, Classic is a very big company? Is that create too big of a conglomerate in the world of bowling I don't know the answer to that question, but I'm sure somebody a lot smarter than me, or maybe somebody who's a lawyer, could answer that question. But when we look at, why is this happening? Well, my understanding is that Brunswick's having a really good year. Sales are up. They've been up the best since they've been in a long, long time. So it doesn't surprise me that they're going to be making some moves. It is interesting that they're making this move right at the end of the year. But if I was a betting man, it's probably because of fiscal year and they want to just get the deal done and get the money on the books. A lot of questions that need to be answered. Hopefully sooner than later. But what do you know about this? Have you heard about Brunswick buying classic products? What do you think of them buying classic products? Do you think this is going to create an unfair advantage? Do you think that maybe Classic will start tracking sales data of Motive and Storm if they continue to sell those products? What do you think Storm and Motive are going to do? What do you think Hudson's going to do? All questions we want to get the answers to. Drop me a comment, and as usual, let's continue the conversation. More updates to come, and until then, bowl well.